Hello, my name is Patsy Wood and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. We are glad you're with us this morning at First Unitarian of Oakland. We are committed to becoming a community where everyone is welcome and differences are celebrated. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome. If you are new here, we invite you to fill out a Newcomer Connect card online. You can use the QR code on the card in the seat backs in front of you, or link on our First Unitarian Club Church of Oakland website, or you can leave us your contact information on your way out at the greeters table in the foyer, or during coffee hour in Vente Hall at the welcome table. Doing this helps us to help you explore what our community offers and to find ways to help you participate. Welcome, everybody. So this is the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land and the ancestral people of this land, the Lisjan Ohlone peoples. Our church, institutions, and homes are occupying their ancestral lands called Kushan. We acknowledge that the lands were stolen from the Ohlone people who, for millennia, have had an ancestral relationship with this land, the plants, the animals, and the water, continuous to this present day. Ohlone people are still here. We also recognize that the spirits of Ohlone ancestors are present. We understand that we are not the ones who stole the land, but we still benefit from it. One of the ways we can help right this wrong is by promoting the Shuni land tax, which gives money to the Segura Te Land Trust to buy back some of the land. And I believe, yes, you can see the link up there if you want to donate. Great. We encourage you to learn more about the Confederated Villages of the Lisjan Ohlone peoples. And now our single announcement of the day. After our service, our congregation has been engaged in a listening campaign, getting to know each other more intentionally and more deeply. There will be a listening table after the service in Vente Hall. Please stop by. You're welcome, whether you're a newcomer, an old-timer, or something in between, whether you've been listened to already or whether you haven't. And Vente Hall, by the way, is right through those doors to the right. We'll have coffee afterwards. Thanks.
We light this chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. May it remind us of the divine spark in all creation, and the power of love to heal what is broken, and to be grateful for life's blessings each day.
Moving voice number 2. Struggle is a never-ending process. Can you use the microphone, please? Sure. All right. Struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. Coretta Scott King. You can't separate peace from freedom because no one can be at peace unless he has his freedom. Malcolm X. Together we say, Black Lives Matter and peace is possible.
I came to the UU in search of community, spiritual connection, and the opportunity to be of service.
And I came seeking a space to freely explore my relationship with spirituality.
And I came to First Unitarian Church of Oakland, to this church because of all of you, the chance for transformation, transcendence, and to worship. Come, let us worship together. particular hymn is maybe the hymn that's most reflective to me of this church, and every time I hear it, it brings gladness, a little bit of like tears to my eyes. I remember Lynn as a young woman creating this particular song, so it's a very strong remembrance. So, I'm going to go ahead and this is my reflection on community needs, and it's mostly 2 poems. But I wanted to express 2 things about it. When we talk about needs and community, I think it's really important to get back to basics. There's a way in which it's easy for us to forget how easy it is to live with each other and to do things. There are many things in life that are hard, but some of those things are hard just because of the way we're living currently. And at least questioning that, for me, is one of the most important concepts I know. So it's one of the things that I'm most hoping that I can offer to you here today is this. So, here we go. The first piece is one that I wrote like just a few months ago. And it's called Wage City. It's a little like Sin City, all the things we will do for wages. We sell our life out an hour at a time. Why? Some say for the benefits. The benefits offered really save the devil to have a tool longer. Otherwise, the souls keep on dying in Wage City. They still do, but maybe with less turnover. Some say to eat, but that comes from other sources. An earth which knows nothing of wages and which is never paid. A sun which loves the earth without any recompense. Water that continues to flow and indeed takes up most of the earth and most of us. How did we get here? Why is this exchange of seashells a life or death proposition? How are we so far from the shore, and yet still we want those damn seashells? The seashells promise a life worth living, or maybe even more. The seashells promise the little amounts of joy, of sustenance, to not go away in our life. And similar to sand, we grasp tighter as they too trickle out of our hands. Wage City. Where's the map to Joy City? How do we end up on this off-ramp? How do we get back on the highway of life to drive anywhere but here? And the other is from one of my favorite poets of the 20th century, Judy Graham. Why do Americans hate to sit next to each other? If you have 8 park benches and 18 people, 10 will stand up. 10 will stand up and stare past the pigeons who never sit by themselves. One ant plus another ant make a community, but 200 million Americans make one large anteater. Climbing up to the Sandia Caves, I thought about our ancestors, how scruffy and strong their toes must have been to scrabble in those rocks. I cannot do anything with my toes. Even fingers grow only on harpsichordists. We have already forgotten what mattered about them, the anthropologists who stripped the caves of all non-essentials, being unable to resurrect their simplicity and their joy, make busy diagrams of bones and broken dishes. Did they go barefoot in the snow? Did it burn them? I believe they held on to each other with their toes. We are not allowed to go barefoot. It is no longer allowed to be snowing. There was a time the dead looked dead. You could tell them from the living. A man who began to perish in those caves need not wait half a century for it to finish. There is something to be said for not living indefinitely. Nowadays, a man who puts a billet into his head is liable to be breathing 10 years later, suckled with needles and tubes in the clinical curiosity of strangers. There was no capsule in that time to protect them from love or violence. And if a neighboring tribesman zonked you on the head and ate your brains, it was a meaningful sacrifice. You would have done the same. Nobody I know has tried to eat a Medal of Honor. I would crawl up the cliff face to meet the old people, but I, having died 7 times already, except for the grace of penicillin, should have been laid long ago on the rim rock to burn in the snow. They had no need for childless women, as we have not much need for mothers. What we need are more park benches and fewer pigeons who do not sit by themselves. We who have no darkness to build fires in shall go on lopping off the animal parts we cannot use anymore until we are shaped like craniums. God will notice the world rolling with eggs who cannot reproduce themselves. My ancestors, I would crawl up the cliff face to meet you, but my toes are misshapen. We are all born with shoes on.
Thank you so much, Reilly, for sharing your poetry and for doing such a lovely reading. So now's the time we invite you to greet one another, but we'd like to do things a little bit differently this week. So as you greet each other, ask each other, what is your greatest strength and how did you learn it?
When you're ready, please explore this curiosity with your neighbors, and if you would prefer not to be greeted, to take a moment for yourself, please feel free to use the time for quiet reflection.
We're going to shift on over to this hymn. I love how much conversation is happening, though. It's beautiful. And we have coffee hour to continue these conversations.
Thanks, everyone. My reflection is called, What Do You Do? As a newer member of the church, I've met a lot of new people since joining this community. It has been a joy to get to know the few of you who I have spoken to, and I hope that all of us have the chance to meet at some point. Each time I make a new introduction, I am faced with another opportunity to answer the question, who are you? And through my introduction to this community, I hope to gain a deeper understanding of who I am. But among all these introductions, I noticed an interesting pattern and a common refrain, and that is the question we frequently ask, what do you do? When we ask what do you do, what we usually mean is, how do you make money? Or more specifically, how do you sell your time? You might respond, I'm a teacher, or I work for the power company. But what a small answer that is for such an expansive question. Some of us, if we're lucky, get to find fulfillment in our work, but many of us do not. We work in order to live, but we are not defined by our jobs. As we approach the topic of mutual aid in this service, of the work that we can do to support each other, it got me thinking more about how to fully and honestly answer the question, what do you do? So what do I do? Well, I usually procrastinate getting out of bed for at least a half hour, and if I have time, I make sweet potato hash browns and coffee for breakfast. Most days I shower for longer than I should. I walk the dog, sometimes around the block, sometimes around Lake Anza and Tilden Park. Some days I spend an hour picking weeds out of my tiny garden patch. Others, I spend hours on my computer. If I'm feeling really ambitious, I might even go to church. I do a lot of things, but the fundamental question, what do you do, still feels unanswered by any one or several of these. The question can also be stressful because it presents a certain urgency, and I can seldom ask it without also wondering, what should I be doing? In times of uncertainty, instability, or crisis, like those that we find ourselves in now, the question is almost paralyzing. Simultaneously, there are seemingly an infinite number of things that need doing, but choosing one action among so many can feel impossible or meaningless to address the scale of the problem. It's easy to feel powerless. And set against the urgency of the present moment, of the unchangeable conditions given and transmitted from the past, and the uncertainty of the future, I am often left to ask, what can I do? In grand speeches and writings, many great leaders throughout history have called people to action. But without the context of the organizations and communities that produced those leaders, of the millions of mundane actions and ordinary people choosing to contribute what little they could, a general call to action can feel daunting or even impossible. The urgency of doing something, anything at all, to meet the moment can even put us at odds with each other, despite seeking the same goal. Reform or revolution, national or international, comply or disrupt, these disagreements can fracture friendships, communities, and entire movements. Even when we follow our best ideals, none of us can live up to our best selves all the time. As we wrestle with our disagreements, let us not shy away from criticism, and let us give each other grace for our mistakes. It's important to recall that every great movement for change has included multiple parallel lines of pressure, sometimes with conflicting lines of action. The broad tent of nonviolent civil disobedience led by the Southern Christian Leadership Conference could not have succeeded without the fierce defense of Black and brown communities by the Black Panthers. The collapse of anti-fascist resistance in Germany fell victim to these disagreements when liberal parties allied with fascists to destroy working class power in unions and socialist parties. Today, we must reckon with defending the credibility of American resistance to fascism while also taking the direct action necessary to frustrate attempts to attack our communities. To work together does not mean we all have to do the same thing, and no movement is a monolith. As Unitarian Universalists, at the core of our belief, we embrace the call to action, and we dedicate ourselves to the task of making the world a better place for all people. When we leave the church to go back to our daily lives, we carry this commitment with us that we will do something to that end. And one of the things that drew me to the UU Church was precisely this. I wanted to find a community of people who support each other in living up to their beliefs, and where, by participating, I might start to find new ways to be proud of what I do and of who I am. The struggles we face today are immense, but they are not unique to our time. And so I would like to close with a quote from Meditations from the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of the good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, not of the same blood and birth, but the same mind, and possessing a share of the divine. And so none of them can hurt me. No one can implicate me in ugliness, nor can I feel angry at my relative or hate him. We were born to work together, like feet, hands, and eyes, like the 2 rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on him, these are obstructions. And so, when I think of who I am and of what I do, I can't give you an easy answer. What I can give you is a commitment that whatever we do, we can do it together.
That feels like a lovely segue into this. Each week, we take time to meditate and reflect on the people we carry in our hearts and minds. There may be someone in your life whose challenges you hope will be lifted, or whose accomplishments you wish to celebrate, or whose memory you would like to honor. We now invite you to call forward the people on your mind by speaking their names aloud or in your heart, so that we may amplify our thoughts and our love for them.
Bob Reynolds and Annette Martin.
Jack and Charlotte and Eliza and
Josh, Nate, Kim, Chris, everyone can, everyone that
Federal employees everywhere. And from our chat, we also have the Palestinian people of Gaza. Emily and Arnie Stoper, happy 60th wedding anniversary. Aww. So whether those names have been spoken aloud, remain in the quiet sanctuary of your hearts. Let us all say together, we hold them in our care.
Now we invite you to share a moment of silent reflection. As we hold this silent space together, I invite you to consider the following question, inspired by a previous service. What do I need from this community, and what can I offer?
fancy pulpit, but that's not happening, and that's all right. I'll work my way to the fancy pulpit. Oh, is Mike working now? Oh, awesome. Yay! All right, great. Yay! I'm so happy to be with you all this morning. So I'm a relatively new member of the church and haven't had a chance to get to know everyone yet. So today I want to share a little bit of my story. I was born just before midnight, 11:56 p.m. on November 8th, 1991. My due date was November 9th, and when my mother arrived at the hospital, the medical staff tried to send her home until the morning. She insisted on being admitted right then, and I was born within minutes of being assigned a room. My father assisted a labor and delivery nurse as I made my debut while the on-call doctor was still waking up. My father sometimes faints at the sight of blood, so he had never been present with my mother for labor due to being a serious liability in the delivery room. Thank goodness for adrenaline, because he managed to stay alert and helps to bring me into the world. My parents are not watching from Southern California because they can't figure out how to download Zoom onto their phones, but it's being recorded, so this message is for them. Mamá, gracias por insistir en quedarte. Y papá, gracias por no dejarme caer al suelo. Y feliz Día de los Padres. So what this means is, Mom, thanks for insisting on staying. Dad, thanks for not dropping me on the floor. And here's wishing him and all father figures who have supported and uplifted the members of our community a very happy Father's Day. I've always liked my origin story. It feels like a fitting way for me to enter the world. I'm a night owl. I really, really don't like being told what to do. And I always finish the assignment right before it's due. I was still editing this homily at 10:23 this morning. But I've told the story of my birth many times over the years, but the story changed considerably on the evening of November 8th, 2016. I started the morning of the election celebrating my 25th birthday with my fellow canvassers, one of whom is right there, Sarah. We had spent the summer registering voters throughout Riverside County and were about to put in our last day to get out the vote. The morning buzzed not quite with excitement, but at least with an anticipation of relief. We thought that by the end of the day, we would still have a neoliberal imperialist as president, but at least she wasn't a diagnosable narcissist, and her historic place as the first woman elected to the office would still be deeply meaningful. My day began with hope and birthday pie, and ended with Donald Trump strolling onto a stage to claim victory just before midnight, right here on the West Coast. Or, well, he was on the East Coast, but midnight on the West Coast. After that day, the story of my birth became inextricably tied with this moment. Donald Trump ruined my birthday. And for the next couple of months, while we all braced ourselves for the first Trump presidency, I quietly and selfishly nursed the injury of losing a story I once loved to tell. Just 2 weeks after the first Trump inauguration, I met my husband, Noah, who's the handsome gentleman over there who spoke earlier. He had helped to organize a successful counter-protest at a local Planned Parenthood clinic that was being targeted by the recently invigorated pro-forced birth crowd, and we met for the first time at a debrief meeting a week later. My sister, Jackie, who also on video, hi Jackie, had met him and his fellow organizers in her work for Planned Parenthood, and so she dragged me along to the debrief, which was way too early on a Saturday, with promises of coffee and pastries, and the rest is history. The story changed. Once again, because of Donald Trump, I met my soulmate. The man who ruined my 25th birthday also gave me the best gift I've ever received. Over the last 8 years, Noah and I have tried to meet each other's needs in many ways. Together we laugh about silly memes, cry over the news, make dinner, hug each other, give each other space, weed the garden, explore philosophical and spiritual questions, walk the dog, play Scrabble, and argue about the supremacy of the Dodgers or the Giants, despite neither of us caring all that much about baseball. We have built a beautiful life, but the Sunday after Trump's second inauguration this January, we realized that we were missing something that we couldn't give each other. We were missing a loving, value-driven, action-oriented community. And this led us to the UU. Nearly 8 years to the day after we met for the first time, the same things that brought Noah and I together, the yearning for justice and the promise of coffee and pastries, led us to this wonderful community that has welcomed us so warmly. Again, the story deepened. In one of the darkest times in our lives personally and in human history generally, we have found such light in this space here with you. This community has encouraged us to run wild with our ideas for growth and change because, as our fabulous board president, Janet McFarland, once told me, the UU is a do-ocracy. If you've got an idea and you're willing to spearhead it, the answer is always yes. A couple of months ago, we went to a community forum meeting with a few ideas to expand the ways we can meet each other's needs as a community, both materially and spiritually. These ideas led us to connect with all kinds of people, and very soon we were borderline overcommitted and had been recruited by the lovely Heather McLeod, I'm not sure if she's here, to lead this summer service. I'm deeply honored to have been invited to share these ideas with you today. So in order to conceptualize these ideas, we'll need a visual slide to show us. It's a little small, but hopefully you can kind of make it out. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You may be familiar with this if you took a psychology class. So on the left is Maslow's hierarchy. It's a psychological concept that visualizes an individual's needs as a pyramid. The model identifies physiological needs like food and water at the base, safety needs such as shelter and health, the need for love and belonging through friendship, community, and connection, the need for esteem, respect, freedom, and self-worth, our cognitive and aesthetic needs for intellectual growth, beauty, and art, and the need for self-actualization, becoming the fullest and most authentic version of ourselves. Later, Maslow added what he identified to be an individual's highest need, transcendence, or connecting to something greater than yourself. Each need depends on the one below it. While you don't have to meet each one perfectly before moving up, it is hard to love yourself with an empty belly, or to transcend while dealing with unstable housing. Living our fullest lives requires us to have the resources and capacity to take care of our basest needs. As with all good ideas presented by Western thinkers, Maslow's hierarchy was heavily indebted to the time he spent living with the members of the Siksika Nation, also known as the Blackfoot Tribe, which is a First Nations tribe indigenous to Alberta, Canada. The Siksika people believe that the end goal to which all action must be directed is not individual, but communal. Their hierarchy is on the right. Their hierarchy provides a vision for what transcendence can look like in a grounded, material sense. So at the base of this perspective is self-actualization. Next is community actualization, a group of individuals coming together and aligning their labor and practices with a shared vision and a set of common values. The highest aim is cultural perpetuity, ensuring that the community's values and cultural practices continue long after we're gone, with each generation accepting the responsibility to strengthen and further this mission. Maslow's hierarchy shows us what an individual needs to be their full selves, where the Siksika view invites us to see this as merely the starting point for greater projects of community action and intergenerational growth. The story continues beyond our individual lifetimes. But how do we build toward cultural perpetuity in a time so hell-bent on drowning each of us in our individual quotidian misery? How do we transcend beyond the self when the odds are so stacked against us? How do we build hope and push back against the little voice in our heads that says we're just playing violins on the Titanic? How do we find the strength to do our very best knowing it may not be enough? How do we accept the unfairness of it all? The answer is both simple and complex, something familiar to any drama kid with a lick of improv experience. Yes, and. As a mental health therapist, this is a skill I reinforce with my clients all the time, the ability to hold two seemingly contradictory truths at once. Yes, we didn't choose this. It is not our fault that we live in a time of chaos. And it is still our responsibility to do something about it. Yes, it is incredibly difficult and it will probably get harder, and it is the only work worth doing. Yes, we may not live to see the day of true justice and liberation for all oppressed people, and this vision is still worthy of our time and labor. We each harbor somewhere a selfish hope that we as individuals will live to see the world healed. But instead, we must accept that every generation that has come before us has lived and died with injustice still in its veins. But among those people, there were some who were willing to work towards a more just world that they might never see. Ooh. Our time here is brief, and our role is simply to play our part in the slow and steady march of humankind as a whole towards liberation. The First Unitarian Church of Oakland provides a perfect meeting ground in the center of these hierarchies of needs. Here we experience a sense of love, belonging, esteem, and self-worth. Our worship services help us to find new ways of thinking and connect us with art and music to stir our souls. Here we organize together to promote social justice, direct action, and community engagement. But how do we hold each other's needs both at the highest and lowest ends of the spectrum? Something we noticed early in our time here is the general UU hesitance around God talk. Noah and I both came to this congregation seeking a non-judgmental place to explore spiritual questions and engage meaningfully with different spiritual beliefs and traditions. We have found that often in the honorable pursuit of not offending or alienating anyone, we sort of just tiptoe around spiritual ideas. But after speaking up at a community forum about our hope for a space for intentional spiritual exploration, I was able to connect with Janella Moon, who's right over there, and together we're spearheading the Spirit Group, which will be gathering after the first Sunday service of every month, starting next month, July 6th. Here we hope to learn about different spiritual traditions, explore the role spirituality plays in our lives, and attend to our needs for self-actualization and transcendence. And if you're interested in learning more, you should come find one of us at coffee hour. Now, what about our most foundational needs, those day-to-day obstacles on the way to us being our fullest selves and building a community that will outlast us? The second idea we shared at that community forum was to build a mutual aid network within the UU Oakland. Mutual aid is a form of solidarity in which individuals mutually benefit by sharing our resources, skills, labor, and time to strengthen our community as a whole. This might look like helping somebody move into a new apartment, filling out paperwork, providing childcare for an afternoon, teaching someone how to change a tire, or having someone over for dinner. It could look like direct bartering. Maybe you're low on time and someone else is low on funds. Can you buy the groceries while they prepare meals? Perhaps you're limited in your physical capacities and you can't offer labor, but you have needs that the community can meet. Can you write that person a poem or a thank you note that they can read in hard times? Can you offer a listening ear? Can you tell them the greatest lesson you've learned in your life? Mutual aid is generally conceptualized as a material exchange, but here we have the space and flexibility to imagine what it might look like beyond this. We can mutually aid each other's minds and hearts just as well as we can our bank accounts and bellies. Much of the work of supporting congregants in times of hardship or crisis is done by our pastoral care associates. They offer a wide range of support to people in serious need, from food and rides to childcare to emotional and spiritual companionship. They provide an invaluable service to congregants, often when they are at their lowest points, and we are lucky to have such caring individuals give so much of their time and labor. Yes, they're amazing, and there is room for the rest of us to step up. How can we as a congregation take on the responsibility of strengthening and expanding this work? What would it look like for us to support each other outside of times of crisis? If we had a map of all of the knowledge, skills, and experience sitting in this room, how might we begin to be resources to each other as well as friends? Building a strong mutual aid network is critical at a time like this. With fascism on the rise, social institutions under attack, and the future so uncertain, this is about more than just helping each other out from time to time. We have to ask ourselves a difficult question. What might I need, and what might I be willing to give if we could only count on each other? I certainly don't have an answer, but if you're ready to explore this question further, we invite you to join us at 12 p.m. in the Star King room to brainstorm some ideas for forming this mutual aid network. I want to just close with this by saying that we live in incredibly difficult times, but this is nothing new, as Noah mentioned. I thought the world was ending in 2016, and then I met that man right over there. I thought I would never enjoy a birthday again, and I still get a little salty about it, but I can have fun now. Just a few months ago, I thought the world was ending again, and then I met the wonderful people in front of me today and found a new sense of hope and purpose. My friends, the story is never over. We just aren't the main characters. The protagonist is named Homo sapiens. She's really smart and has a wicked sense of humor, but she can't seem to get her act together. So if she's going to get by, she'll need a little help from her friends. For forgot, I'm immediately on the mic again. So we are going to have our invitation to generosity now. As Unitarians, we do not share a doctrine or creed. We are Buddhists, atheists, witches, Christians, humanists, and seekers. Some of us are just people who enjoy free coffee and good conversations. What we do share is a set of values that calls us to take meaningful collective action towards a more just and equitable world. Your material generosity allows for the maintenance of this beautiful space of gathering and connection. It funds valuable programs like Our Whole Lives, the Justice Council, and the Pastoral Care Team, and contributes to the work of our community partners.
McClymonds Scholarship Fund. This month's collection will be split with McClymonds Scholarship Fund, an organization that provides scholarships for any students in need at McClymonds High School here in Oakland in order to attend college. Yeah.
And if this is your first time with us, of course, feel free to pass the basket along. Your presence is gift enough.
We have extinguished these candles and this chalice, but not the lights of love, peace, and justice that remain lit in our hearts.
I'd like to close. Oh, no? Is it working? Yes, okay. I would like to close by inviting you to stand as you feel moved and able, and look across the aisle to your fellow community members as we end with a brief prayer translated from Nahuatl, the language of the Mexica people of pre-colonial Mexico. This prayer to the divine reflects the ephemeral nature of life and the importance of interdependence, and I hope it inspires us all to go forth and seek strength in each other. Only for so short a while you have loaned us to each other, because we take form in your act of drawing us, and we take life in your painting us, and we breathe in your singing us. But only for so short a while have you loaned us to each other, because even a drawing cut in obsidian fades, and the green feathers, the crown feathers of the quetzal bird lose their color, and even the sounds of the waterfall die out in the dry season. So we too, because only for a short while have you loaned us to each other. Ashe, amen, and blessed be.